So tomorrow is Memorial Day, and I like to call it Remembering Day because it's time that we take to remember those that have been lost or lost to us, or just have served in our life in some capacity or major way. When I was living in Viside, my brother came to stay with us for a little while at a point in his life, and we found out from my grandma that in between our house and their house, close to our house, there was a cemetery that my grandpa grew up close to. But there were 3 graves out there that were his family. And they never went there Memorial Day or did anything with them really, but my grandpa had made them tombstones, or headstones, whatever you want to call them. And he had taken those old tin or aluminum letters, and he had put mother, brother, sister, and the day they were born and died on it. Had no names on it. But my grandma sent us one time on the way back to her house to go look at it and just see if they were still there and what shape they were in. And so one Memorial Day weekend, my brother and I went out there and we took some cleaner, I think it was barkeeper's friend, and some water and some flowers that we had managed to round up. And we went out there and cleaned them up because those letters had gotten all nasty from the weather. And we took pictures of them and took them back to my grandma and my grandpa. And you would have just, the joy on my grandpa's face was just incredible because, that was his mother, his brother, and his sister. Nobody really knows who they are except him. And, he went out there and put those stones out there. And, it's in a pretty big cemetery outside of Canton, Oklahoma, if you know where that's at. And so it was just kind of a neat, it's probably a Memorial Day I'll never forget, not because of what I did, but just because of the joy about my grandparents. Talking to my grandmother on the phone the other day, they drove all over the countryside the other day, taking flowers around to all the gravestones of their daughter they lost when she was very little, a grandson that they've lost, and then just various family members that they have in the area. And she was telling me all about it. And that's what Memorial Day is about. It's that time that we go and remember those that have been lost to us through death on this earth. But the specific reason for Memorial Day is very historical. The seed for Memorial Day was planted in 1866. I'm going to give you a little history lesson, I guess. The United States was recovering from the Civil War, and Henry Wells, a drugstore owner in Waterloo, New York, suggested that all the shops in town close for one day in honor of the soldiers who were buried in the local cemetery. On the morning of May 5th, the townspeople placed flowers, wreaths, and crosses on the graves of the Union soldiers. They lowered all their flags in the community to half-staff. It was not a joyous celebration, but a very sober memorial. And the reason behind it was because their sacrifices had made what they believed society at that time possible. I mean, you just recovered from the Civil War, the North has just defeated the South, and they think that our society has got to rebuild at this point, and we owe it all to these men. And so they became the start of Memorial Day. And there's a popular writing that comes from that time, and I don't have the author, but it goes like this. It says, "It is the soldier, not the theologian, who has secured our freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has secured our freedom of the press. It is soldier, not the protester, who has secured our freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier, not the judge or the lawyer, who has secured our judicial system. It is the soldier, not the entrepreneur, who has secured our economic opportunity. It is the soldier whose coffin is draped in the flag, who has secured freedom for those who wish to burn that flag." There is no doubt their sacrifices had a huge impact on our lives today in America. Our wars gave us independence as a nation. Our wars have defined our values, like freedom. Those wars have also helped others experience those values, even those who have been our enemies. But we must acknowledge that none of our wars have been totally pure. Some have been pretty rotten, but we can't deny the impact they have had on us. So we often take Memorial Day, and of course the flags go up. And I remember we mowed several cemeteries growing up. At one point we had 4 a summer that we were mowing. And we used to take all the flags out for Memorial Day. They'd give us a list the veterans or those who served in the military, and we'd go put these little flags out. And we'd watch the people come as we were putting flags out to decorate the graves with flowers and whatever they felt appropriate. You know the worst part about that is mowing the cemetery? Not only do I have to go put all those little flags out, before I weed, I had to go pick every last one of them back up. But it was beautiful when you go back out there to pick those flags up, some of the decorations that people had put out there. And it was almost heart-wrenching to me to have to pick those decorations up as well to be able to do our job in maintaining the cemetery. But here's what blew me away even more, is the number of graves that were decorated that weren't military. Because see, there's a reason that we celebrate not only the military during Memorial Day, that we celebrate those who died in peace. Because we can't deny that civilians can have a greater impact than soldiers sometimes. And I'm not trying to take away or disrespect those that have served in any way. But we have lots of people who have never served in the military in our country, in our nation, in our own towns that have had a greater impact than those that did. And so we take this time of Memorial Day to celebrate them too. You know, I could go through my family history and I could point out several people who have served in the military. One of the most important to me would have been my stepdad. He served in the Vietnam War. And he tell you, he went in as a water purification specialist, which meant he stood at the very back of camp with a big tank of water, and he was purifying it so that they had something to drink. Basically, he boiled water all day. But he would still talk about the number of bullets he heard whiz by him. He said a lot of times from our own men's guns. You know, he said, just because I was way back in the back and what I thought was going to be the safe job, so I was nowhere close. But then there's those at home, those civilians who are the family members of those, or who are in no way related to them. The real work of the nation takes place, I think, in the intervening years away from war by ordinary people. The war is never enough. Sacrifice alone doesn't keep a nation safe and good. Many countries have lost way more soldiers than us. World War II, Russia was absolutely devastating. They lost millions, but they came out victorious. And their soldiers returned to a rigid, totalitarian state. But yet Russia was victorious. Today their country is mired in crime, corruption, drunkenness, and despair. Russians have freedom, but the recent heritage of godlessness is upon them. Winning wars alone did not give them what they really needed or wanted. So let's talk about America's civilian heritage for just a minute. Consider your ancestors. Most of my ancestors were dirt farmers. They worked in the dirt. And they did their best at it. Don't know how many of you have ever been to Oklahoma, but we have what we call red dirt. It doesn't like to grow too much stuff. It's very clay, it packs really hard in the rain. You know, we have farmers who go out there, they plow, they drill, and they pray for rain. But just little bits of rain, because lots of rain packs it in, makes it too hard for things to grow. It's a tough thing. But dirt farmers, that's what I grew up doing, it's what I grew up knowing. My family spread across the nation between my Russell side and my Cypress side, which is my mom's side, and then my stepdad's side. All three of those families were dirt farmers. They did everything they could. A lot of their families were very large. My mom was one of 5. My real dad was one of 6, and my stepdad was one of 9. So I related to just about everybody where I grew up in some form or fashion. And I bet your ancestors were much the same. Let's take dirt farming out of America. What are you left with? From the beginning of time, that is what a lot of this country was founded on. Farmers spreading out across the land and and doing something different, trying to make a name. And as generations grew, they became more educated. Personal wealth increased. Homes got bigger, more cars. And all these things were just a means to an end, not the goal itself. These people came to America for a better life, a good life. And the good life is far more than prosperity. Other values were very important, but what values are those? My early ancestors were very religious. I've been told growing up, I never knew him, which would be my great-grandpa. I knew my great-grandma. Her name was Grandlady, is what we call her. I knew her so well that the only picture of her is about me of 6 months old, and I'm sitting on her lap, so I didn't really know her, in case you catch the joke. But her husband, apparently Nick, was a preacher, an evangelist. I didn't know this until I decided to go to ministry. And then my grandma on my dad's side was like, yeah, my dad was a preacher. Never knew this. Really? Where was he a preacher? Oh, all over. He's more of an evangelist. He was always taking people in his home, feeding them a meal, preaching the word to them. Okay, what else? I don't really know. Nobody knew much about my grandpa Nick. But that he loved the gospel. He loved to spread the good news. That's all we really know about it. But religion was always deep within that family. I grew up calling most of my dad's family holy rollers because they were really crazy, some of them. Really, really crazy. But I've been told that way back in the Russell line that they started a community in Oklahoma. I couldn't tell you where, but the first thing they did was build a house, and the second thing they did was build a church. Suppose that church is still standing. My grandmother, I lost her about 3 years ago. The grandma that told me all this stuff. I wish I'd known better so I could go see these things. But all this to say that what we're doing right now, what we call religion, has built and shaped America. Many came here because of religious commitments. They came here because religion was free, not forced. That was the whole reason they came over here, was that they wanted to get away from being forced to do religion a certain way. You know, we call it religious freedom, and that's what it is. And we have broadened what religious freedom means in America today to things I think our forefathers would cringe at in a lot of ways. But what they wanted was not to be forced to do it. They wanted to do it their way. And so they formed their own congregations. They began to form their doctrine that they found suitable to what they read in Scripture. There are many people that believe a lot of our forefathers were atheists, and yes, there were some, but go read the Constitution. Go read the Declaration of Independence. There's a reason they give credit to God in a lot of those things, because that's what they were seeking, was a godly place to call home. It was reflected in our foundation. Our government was given checks and balances because human nature remains sinful. Yet the ideal of a better government society is always trying to be held out. We have open yards in our life instead of walled enclosures for a reason. So all of this, and we get to this big question that I want to ask you, what will our generations be remembered for? You know, that's one thing I always ask myself a lot of is, what will my generation be remembered for? And right now I want to slap a lot of my generation around because we're not being remembered for the best of things sometimes. My generation and the generation after me has gotten so wrapped up in the technological age that we forgot what relationships is in a lot of ways. We forgot how to be personable and relationable with each other. And to me, that's not good. That's not good. We were founded on the fact of being free, forming congregations, and doing this thing together for a reason. There's a reason the Bible refers to those in Christianity as brother and sisters, because that's a relationship. And if you have siblings, you know what I mean. There is a special bond in a relationship. It's the one that you can kick dirt in each other's face and go, oh, I'm really sorry, and you go about your day. It's the one in the same breath you can look at your sister and say, you're crazy, you're nuts, but let's go. It's a special relationship. So what are our generations going to be remembered for? And yes, the challenge is out there is to make sure that your generation is remembered for something, but you alone can't change your whole generation. Sorry, you can't. We like to try. We like to think we can. But you can make a difference in you and in the here and now. And you can start small. And one of my favorite movies, and I can't remember when it was made, and to some of you it's probably never even heard of because you're so young, Tim. But it's a movie called Pay It Forward. Maybe you know this movie? It's about a little kid in a history class, I think. Is it history? Anyway, social studies class of some sort. And they're given a project to change the world. Come up with one idea that you would have to change the world and put it into motion. And most of these, I think they're like third or fourth grade kids are like, what? I can't change the world. And one little kid takes it and he draws this circle on the board. This is his project. Draws this circle on the board and he calls it Pay It Forward. He said basically when something nice is done to you, pay it forward to 3 people. And you tell them to pay it forward. And he said, and he even goes to the board and he crosses out 2 of them, says, and maybe they won't, but if this one does, that's 3 more. And before you know it, it just grows. Well, the point of the movie is the kid ends up getting killed. I'm ruining it, okay? Here you go. Ruining the movie for you. Spoiler alert. The kid ends up getting killed. But the whole Pay It Forward thing that he actually put it into motion. You get to see him do part of this whole Pay It Forward thing in the movie. It ends up coming back around to the teacher and his mother. And they begin to look and trace the line. And it wasn't just one person in between them. This kid had affected the nation. He had changed the way people looked at things and began to pay it forward. He got to people that were his relation, he didn't even know were related to him through this pay it forward mechanism. And he did it with one person. He started with one person. Yeah, great, it's a movie. It's Hollywood. Anything is possible, right? But the idea is there. That, yeah, you don't want your generation to be remembered for something, so do something about it. Start small. But think big. Our challenges in life are going to come. Our greatest challenge, I think, for any of us, any of our generations, is not going to be economic. Whether you agree with the situation our country is in right now or not, I could care less. Okay, I don't get real political. But I don't even think our greatest challenge is going to be economic. It's going to be our morals and our faith. It's going to be keeping our families together, passing our values on to our kids, instilling a work ethic. It's going to be controlling the drift of the churches away from the Bible. I don't know if you remember back in 2011, Robert Schuller's Crystal Cathedral went up for sale. Because the attendance had went from 10,000 to 1,000. Because of biblical principles and where they had stood with them. And so we're tucked away in Kansas, where some of these things will never get to us. I mean, they start at the east and they start at the west, and so they don't get to us, right? Wrong. Wrong. Nobody's immune to these trends. Ever. Ever. They're going to hit home, and they're going to hit home at some point. So I think the first place we start with any generation is getting right with God. And understanding what God has put in store for us. And so I want to take a moment. I know I'm like near the end of my sermon. I'm just going to read Scripture to you. But there's a reason for this. If you would, open up to Deuteronomy chapter 32 with me. We're going to go to the Old Testament today, because I think as far as God's interaction with a nation, we have no better example than God's interaction with Israel. And the Israelites and the way He took them through the wilderness, through the desert, through the bumps, it was just incredible. You know, we in America like to often think that, God's going to come save us first, and you're wrong. We are not God's chosen people. we're thankful for the gift of Christ because otherwise we would be lost. We would be hopeless. I want you to understand that God's chosen people is still the Israelites and always will be. Even in Paul's messages, he says it's first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. But we fall in that Gentile category. So we're thankful for the sacrifice of Christ. But I want to read, before Christ ever came, God's commitment to them. Deuteronomy chapter 32, starting verse 7. It says, remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of God. But the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob, his allotted heritage. He found him in a desert land, and in the howling waste of the wilderness, he encircled him. He cared for him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. Like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, catching them, bearing them on its pinions. The Lord alone guided him. No foreign God was with him. He made him ride on the high places of the land, and he ate the produce of the field, and he suckled him with honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock. Curds from the herd, and milk from the flock, with fat of lambs, rams of Bashan, and goats, with the very finest of the wheat. And you drank foaming wine made from the blood of the grape. And here's the key. But Jerusalem grew fat and kicked. You grew fat, stout, and sleek. Then he forsook God, who made him, and scoffed at the rock of his salvation. I often like to compare the country of America to the Israel of the Old Testament. Did you know that after the attacks of 9/11, the average church attendance grew by almost 70%? Oh no, we need God again. We've messed up. Where did that need ever go? So Jake, you started with Memorial Day, and now you're on the point of we've lost God as a nation. What does this have to do with anything? Here's my question. Why do we need a day to remember those who have gave everything for us all in life? Don't think I'm dissing Memorial Day by any means. I'm the one speaking at the Memorial Day service tomorrow because I consider it an honor and a privilege to get to do that. But come Tuesday, that doesn't mean we forget. Come Monday through Saturday, that doesn't mean we forgot sitting here today. We need to get right with God. As a people, as a church, as a town, as a nation. And I need you to understand something real quick about me. When I say church, I don't mean Macksville Christian Church. There is a lot more of us than just right here. There is a lot bigger community of Christians than right here. Because see, church doesn't happen on a Sunday morning. Church happens every time you wake up. You are the church. This is a building. And I'm glad God gave us walls to come together and celebrate with each other. But you are the church. So if we're going to get right with God, it takes our feet. It takes our hands. You want to have victory in Macksville. You want to have victory in the neighboring communities. You want to have victory in the state of Kansas, in the United States of America. It takes your feet and your hands. I will do my best to guide, protect, and lead in every way possible. But I cannot, will not, and am not going to do it alone. Understand that, please. That is me as blunt as possible. That is me. You think somebody needs visited, I'm going to look at you and say, let's go. Let's means let us, more than one, go and do so. Because there's a reason God laid it on your heart. And I am very happy to be a part of it. But I would like you to go with me. To spread the love of God. Because there's plenty of times a preacher goes into the house and someone looks at them and goes, well, it's your job. What about the other people? You're right, it is my job. That is the vocation I have chosen in life. And the other people, I hope they'll stand beside me. I hope they'll walk with their feet and do with their hands what God has called and asked us to do. But Jake, I'm a great follower. When you looked at Christ and said, I will follow, you looked at the rest of the Christian nation and said, I will lead. I will lead the lost. I will love the broken. And I will do my best to heal the sick by the power of God. So we need to get right with God if we want victory. And I don't think there's ever a place in my life that I have stepped foot that I didn't want victory. It's what I strive for. It's what I want to do. It's what God has instilled the passion in me to do. It's to love His people and to be the best light I can be. And guys, there's days I'm going to trip right off this stage and fall on my face. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings along the road because I'm human and I do mess up. And that's when I need a wonderful church that backs me up to pick me up and say, hey, we can fix this together by the power of God. So then, as you've heard me stand here and we've quested for Jesus, we've talked about Palm Sunday, if you've heard all four of them, my quest to you today is this right here, to work with your feet and hands next to me, alongside me, together. That's what I'm asking you to do, is to stand with me upon the Word of God. Guys, I stick to the Bible as closely as possible as I can. Okay? If you want my opinion on any of the big topics in the world today, come ask me. Most of the time I'm going to try to quote Scripture and stand upon the Word of God. And I've asked every church before me in my ministry, I'm going to ask you today, are you willing to stand with me upon the Word of God? Are you willing to stand with me upon the Word of God? Are you willing to stand with me upon the Word of God? Father in heaven, we come to you now. As you've seen a church stand, and maybe because they were just wanting me to shut up today, but you've seen them stand, saying they will stand upon the Word of God, I ask that this not be in vain. I ask that as we try to conquer this world by your love and with your passion that you show the nation of Israel, help us to be your feet and hands of today. Help us to spread your love, not to bash, not to insult, but to love from the inner depths of our heart that you have instilled in us. Sometimes we grow calloused and cold, and Father, we need you to break that, to break the heart of stone so that we may work for you. God, I thank you for this place you have put me and my family today. I thank you that you have given us a new journey in life, a new breath. And I just ask that, Father, as a leader of a church, as the pastor, as the preacher, as the minister, you help me to do my part in shepherding. But Father, as the flock, we have a purpose, we have a goal, and we have a mission. And that's to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. Help us to do so with love and compassion in today's world. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.